Welcome back to another episode of fixing the K-swap that shouldn't have been broken. We're gonna prep the car and hopefully prep the motor. So like we talked about in the last episode of this car, I'm not sure how far I want to go. The bay is definitely a mess, and I would love to respray it all white. I actually have POR 15 white, which would look really good. It's just a matter of how much time do I want to spend tearing everything apart, painting it, prepping it. Technically, I don't have all the parts in hand right now to prep the new motor. Like, I don't have the timing components and stuff. I gotta order those. So I do have time. We'll see how far we get today. It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I've got until like 2, so good amount of time to do some work. I have other things I want to get done, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how much my scope creeps. I am also on the fence about rebuilding the intercooler piping, so there's a lot of stuff we could do. I don't know what we're gonna do, so let's get to work. Let's stop talking and actually put some effort in. First things first, we are pushing this engine outside, or pushing this chassis outside, and getting this all pressure washed and cleaned up. Hopefully this works. I totally got this thing GoPro wet with the pressure washer, and it doesn't have a case on it, so there's like water in the battery. So hopefully you can hear me. I might go get the other one from the truck. This one might be smoked, but just in case. So pressure washed everything. This is like my least favorite part. That's the old block. It's all cleaned up. That way when I take it apart, it's not a nasty mess. I stripped the new block down, so it's all clean. I'm gonna be painting it, obviously, just like the last one. Engine bay. So this degreaser is like nasty stuff, and it smoked the finish on the gold tape. I have decided I'm not going to be respraying the bay. I just don't care that much, especially if I'm going to want to repaint the car eventually. So I did order more tape, so I'm going to peel that stuff off, relay it. That way it at least is clean. And a lot of the like general grime came out of the bay, so take that as a win. That's pretty much going to be it for today for me. Not for this episode, but for today. Dylan has my impact, so I can't take my flywheel off the old motor and put it on a stand and all that. I've got to mow my lawn and all sorts of stuff before 2 o'clock, and it's noon, and my lawn takes like 2 hours. So yeah, last thing I'm gonna do is put this in the air. So quick checks are finally freed up. Track car is outside, so I can load it up for the track day tomorrow at Pineview. But I'll put this up in the air, that way the quick checks are kind of out of the way, and maybe my wife can park in the garage, but for now the engine's gonna go over here. So 1,000 things, we'll get through it. I wasn't gonna film anything today because I'm just taking the flywheel off of the motor and probably refoiling the engine bay, and I'm just gonna show you afterwards. Let me show you what the head of these flywheel bolts are supposed to look like, and if my welding helmet is any inclination, things are not going as smoothly as I planned. So they are these like 12-point bolts that barely fit in the flywheel housing. I started stripping them out, so you can see this guy is kind of rounded out around the edges there. Also, hopefully this is stable enough, because I don't know where my little tripod thing is. I'll find it soon, but not a big deal. This is just gonna be short. So 2 of them, there's 8 on the flywheel. 2 of them decided not to come off. With like, they just started, I'll show you this one first. They started rounding off. I can't, like, the socket just spins. So I was like, well, I've seen this before, I've never done it, but you can weld a nut to the end of like a stuck bolt and use it to extract it. So I welded a good old, that's a M10 nut, just welded it to the end, put the impact on it and blasted it off. So I've got to do it again, which means I really got to find this tripod so you guys can see what's going on. But yeah, that's how my day's going. M10 nut, meet this guy. So just literally gonna tack it on, no filler. It worked last time. So I hope you could see that, but there you have it. It is welded on there. And I'm gonna take my impact with a 14 and just zip it off, and hopefully that's all this needs. You shitting me right now. It rounded it. What the fuck? Things are escalating. I am now welding a sacrificial 9/16, which is a 14, onto the nut so it doesn't strip again. If this doesn't work, I don't know what. Can you see this? I had to weld. I literally had to weld a socket to the bolt. Happy Monday. So I'm not gold foiling the bait tonight because sometimes you just gotta walk away. But the engine is finally on the stand. This is the old one, mind you, the blown one. So if anything, if I've learned anything in the few years I've been building engines, the hardest thing to do is find the right hardware to bolt the engine stand to the engine. It's just never straightforward. It always sucks. So this is on the stand so I can take all the parts off that I need for the new motor. We got time until the new parts show up, so I'm just gonna strip this guy down, probably separate the bottom end from the head and just stash it because I'm planning on building that block, and so the bottom end at least. The head is pretty much trash, I'm pretty sure. I might sit on it, put it in the basement for a little bit and see if like 4-piston can rebuild it or something. Kind of sucks that it toasted the head, but me, is what it is. So the next step for this guy that you'll see is we're gonna start tearing it down, pan off. All like the custom turbo stuff needs to go. I need the oil pump, I need the windage tray, I need the oil pan, engine mounts, like the block off plate for the oil filter relocation. And it's gonna kind of be a run through again of the first time I put it together. Luckily I actually still have the build, like I printed out the whole build sheet and I have all of that, so we'll be using that to put this back together. So I've started teardown. I still have my tripod, which is why I haven't been filming a lot, but I think I found, or I've deduced, I guess, what happened to the motor. Pan is off, and when I took the pan off there was a clump of like plastic on here, and I could not figure out for the longest time what it was. But let's see if we can find any more. I mean, there were little plastic shavings like all over the inside of the pan, and I was looking at it forever and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and I think it's the tensioner. So I mean, let's put it somewhere clear. That was all on the pan pickup, like stuck to the pickup. So while the engine was running, this was getting sucked in, which is very possible that like one of these little strands got sucked into the oil pickup for the timing chain and like just stopped providing oil. So I think a tensioner failing is the culprit here, at least the plastic on the tensioner. So if you look, the tensioners have like plastic faces. These were new. The ones that I put on the, like that I reused for the main belt or chain, timing chain, were not new. I don't have them anymore. I threw them out when I was cleaning up the other day. That was like a me being cheap thing. Here's the top one. This one's new. Oh yeah, so I gotta replace this guy. You can see right there. So it was dragging across the top, shaved some metal there and there. So something happened, something failed, caused all that to scrape. Maybe it was the timing tensioner. got loose. I'm gonna take the rest of this motor apart now and drop drop everything off, the pickup, the pump, at my machine shop buddy, and we're gonna have him just hot tank everything because I don't want to risk any of these little shavings coming through there. Thankfully the pump is fully, I can take it fully apart, so I'm not worried about that. And then yeah, we'll just run some good solvent through everything and get it all taken care of before we put it back together, because the last thing I want to do is put this new motor in, put it in the car, and then it just does the same thing. So we're gonna do our best without replacing absolutely everything to solve that issue ahead of time. So the block is pretty much stripped to where it needs to be. I'm gonna hang on to it until the other one is ready to go in, because if I'm missing anything, it'll be on here. But you can see, like, there's some straight metal shavings in there. Not sure what that's even from. Maybe, oh, that's, you know what that is? That's part of a broken chain. So that's where the pin goes through. And I'm sure if I line them up, I'll get something that resembles a chain. Yeah, so who knows where everything else is in here, but pulled everything off. Everything is bagged and tagged so that I can remember where it goes. These guys, so here's the pump. I can take it apart just by taking these 5 screws out, and then the whole back half separates. I can clean it out real good. Likely take out the gear, ultrasonic clean everything. I've got a little ultrasonic cleaner on my messy bench over there. But like the pan, I mean, look at this. There's just straight grit in here from who knows what. Maybe it was the time that the valve cover was off when it was in the shop, and like stuff was just flying around. So we're gonna take a little more caution this time. I'm not going to work on any other projects in the garage while I put it together, and I'll make sure that it's bagged every night until it goes into the motor, or into the engine bay. So yeah, the next time I pick this camera up, I think I'm going to try in this episode to do the teardown of one and the assembly of the other. All the parts, so I ordered the parts yesterday, 2 days ago, thinking they wouldn't show up for like a week and a half because that was their ETA. They'll be here tomorrow, or Friday. Today's Wednesday. So 4-day shipping, 3-day shipping direct from Acura, which is awesome. So won't delay the project that much, and we might get it back on the road sooner than we thought. Yeah, so good progress. And I'm happy we found the issue, because now I know what should be replaced, which I already had on order. So I'm gonna blow this stuff apart, get it all loaded up in the truck so I can drop it off tomorrow, and hopefully pick it up by Friday and put it back in. So it's been a couple days for me, but instant for you guys. We're back. The new engine is on the stand. I did paint it up with some engine enamel paint. Best garage thing, AC. So just a quick overview. Everything in here looks really nice. Like, this is like a nice bronze. Looks like oil was changed pretty regularly. I'm in the process now of stripping off things that I don't need. Like, the pan's gonna go. These sensors are gonna go. This has to get deleted because it gets moved up over here. So I gotta strip all that stuff out and start putting on the stuff that the K-swap requires. Maybe tomorrow or Monday. Today's Saturday. It's 4th of July weekend for reference. So maybe tomorrow or Monday we will be putting this in the car, and I, in theory, have everything to get the car running. I bought oil. I'm gonna run water with water wetter, so I don't need coolant. Got trans fluid, all that stuff. So should have everything to put it back together. I'm itching to drive this thing so bad right now. So I'm getting my motivation back. This is ready for the track day on Tuesday, so that's off my plate. Yeah, time to just like turn and burn and get some progress ready on this car. So quick update, got the pan off the old oil filter location, the new oil filter location, and then for the turbo guys, this is what I use for the coolant feed. It's just this big set screw that comes out of there, and when I go to put it together, I'll show you what I put there. So pan is off. The next thing we're gonna have to do is take this pump off, because this is like the balance shaft big boy pump when we're gonna run the little whatever RSX pump that's like this big, no balance shafts, and then just the pickup comes back there. switch the windage tray out. We got to block the oil pickup, that little oil feed hole that every swap has to block. Strip all the timing stuff out. I have all brand new. I'm not going to risk it. New guides, new top guides, side guides, tensioner, oil pump, both chain and guides are brand new. This tensioner we don't use because it uses a different setup for the RSX. And then we got to switch out one of these gears. I have the instruction book, so I'll do that. Switch out one of these gears on or one of these Hall effect rings on here, and then that'll be it pretty much internally, and then we'll start doing the stuff on the outside. I'm gonna do all the cleaning now, like shaving all the old RTV off and stuff like that, because I still have to take the rest of the motor apart. So like I gotta take the pump off and all that, and before I put the new pan on, I don't want to catch anything in the pan, so we'll clean it all up now. I have a lot of it done. Like I already started scraping all of this down. It's a lot less overwhelming than it was the first time, because first time I did it, I'd never worked on a K before. Granted, this is the second time I've worked on a K, so but I know what to do. The instructions are way clearer now, and I've got a lot of friends who have done it recently, so if I need help, I can just like reach out to Scotty or whatever. Yeah, so let's get to work. First thing I'm gonna do is strip all the timing stuff off the front. That's easy. And clean up all the gasket material. This is the safest way I've found to do this. I've got the engine tipped at an angle so I can still work on it. And then I've got the port side closest to the edge of the block down. That way anything that's going to fall is going to fall either into this little lip here or down into, well, I guess oil pan. But I've tapped it in as far as it needs to go. I just kind of maxed out the tap. And then what I'm going to do is I'll back this guy out, cleanse it with a brake clean, like a couple times, and then red Loctite, install the bolt, and that'll be a blocked oil passage. So there's the hole with threads traced or tapped and everything, and then we don't want this bolt coming out. I did a dry run, make sure it goes in far enough, and then absolutely soaked it in red Loctite. So this thing's never coming out. If this thing ever comes out, we're gonna have a no oil pressure issue. So I'm gonna put that in there, seal it up real nice. Next thing is actually the pump, oil pump, and the chain goes on for the oil pump. And then I still have to assemble it because I took it apart. I had everything cleaned, so like the spring is missing, the gear needs to be put back together. So I'm gonna do that after dinner, but we will get the pump on, we'll get the engine time tonight. That's at least, and like the pan on. That's my goal. So we'll see how far we get. Be cool if the whole engine was wrapped up today, because then we can put it in the car. Either tomorrow or Monday, probably Monday. Back at it. Got the oil pump assembled. It's a Type S oil pump, and you can see the modification is they machine that lip up so that it can sit over the crank bolt cover thingy. And then this is the rear pickup from K-Power, and it's just, there's no gasket in between, which is really weird, but all it does is repositions the oil pickup. So this is where the oil pickup tube bolts in, and that's going to come across the windage, that's going to come across the windage tray and leave the oil pickup right around here. So this is on, this chain is on. I'm going to make sure, I think I have to put this piece in first. I might have to pop the pump off again. There's like a spacer bracket that goes over this whole setup. So I'm going to figure that out, and I'll pick you guys back up, and then we'll do the windage tray, oil pickup, and then we can really put the pan on. So it turns out installation order doesn't really matter. I was able to like sneak it underneath. This replaces two of the bolts that bolt this upper oil pan to the rest of the block, or whatever you want to call this, the support plate thingy. So there's spacers underneath. This gets slid on top, 2 bolts, 1 bolt to support the, it's a K20 pump. 1 bolt to support that through this like steel plate. And then for now I've got 1 bolt in over here. This one is still missing because I got to put the windage tray on first, and then the windage tray gets supported through that plate and like a couple other spots. So we're gonna do that next, and yeah. we're making good progress. It's looking like a real thing now. Windage tray's on, pickup tube is on, put a new O-ring under here. It's all bolted together. Everything is Loctited with blue Loctite except for that one bolt that we never want to take out. This is a K20 pump, so it uses the K20 tensioner, not the big like ratcheting one from the K24. And then so all that's left at this point, we're all seated. So this tensioner is spring loaded, so we just got a quick little bink. And now your oil pump has tension on the chain. So what's left now for me is I'm gonna clean all this stuff up on the way down here. Just let it all fall to the ground. Give this one good spray with brake cleaner, and then I'll start doing I'll flip it over and do the timing chain stuff. Get the timing chain buttoned up, and then we'll be one step closer to putting it back in the car. Stefan, how's the K coming? Let me show you. Yes, everything's back off again. And if you're wondering why, you're supposed to do a clearance check when you put the windage tray on to see if the caps are hitting. I didn't do that. Well, I did, and I heard it ticking, so I went to loosen it, and all you're supposed to do is put like a washer, put a washer underneath that lip that the let me show you, underneath this guy here, and it lifts the windage tray up enough. So I did that, went to go put it back together, and this hole in the block stripped out. This bolt here, I pulled it out and I had a ton of threads with it, so I ran to John's house, grabbed his helicoil kit, and I have now helicoiled that thread. For those of you that don't know what a helicoil is, I have the hiccups now. It is just a thread saver, essentially. So you tap a bigger size thread, in this case it's like an M10 by something. This gets installed in with a special tool. You break that little tang off on the back, and then this is now your new thread. So it is actually a stronger thread. It's about twice as strong as base aluminum if you helicoil it with a steel insert, so I'm not worried. We do it all the time in my line of work, so it's like a, you know, if anything, to helicoil every hole in this block would make it stronger at each threaded connection, so I'm not worried about it. I have enough just in case another one strips out. I'm not going to do it preemptively because there's always a possibility that I mess something up, so I'm going to throw it back together real quick. I'm going to put a washer under the windage tray up here and over here to tip it away from this rod. And then we'll go back to timing the front of the motor. I'll pick you back up once we are doing the whole timing setup. After that brief intermission, we are back. Pro tip, Greg Peters' little trick, works on a K series too. So I've got the teeth lined up here, there's a dot here, and there's a dot here. They're not supposed to be vertical. So in case you're curious, it's more these two point to each other. This arrow lines up to the arrow on the block. There is a trick. If you have the proper size drill bits, you can stick them in back here on both sides and it'll hold it in place. I don't. There's a very expensive tool that does the same thing. This works mint. There's even little like hex gears on the cams to hold them, so we're gonna do that. Next up is put the chain on. I've got a brand new OEM Honda chain. It's upside down, part number if you need it. Everything on this is OEM. All right, easy as that. So I got the things lined up like I had earlier, 1, 2, and 3. This bolts on. It's just one pivot bolt here. This guy bolts on. It's these 3 alignment bolts. So this is just a guide. This is also technically just a guide. This is the tensioner. It comes shipped with this huge thumbtack in it. It's just a ratcheting tensioner, and it's fed by oil pressure, or a spring I believe, and or maybe. So there's definitely a spring in here that pushes tension on this, and as the chain stretches, because these will stretch over time, it just goes out to the next tooth and it keeps tension continuously on the chain. So now that we have it assembled, everything is in time. I'm gonna just pull this. Now you can see it moved out a tooth. You can see the little teeth in there. That keeps it in tension. That's as simple as that. People say these like to fail. I talked to my buddy Eric Coutil. If you watch any sort of grid life racing, he's pretty good. He's pretty good. He runs the OEM tensioner with no failure issues, and they beat on their engines. So I'm not worried. Really gonna have to excuse the mess. I bolt marked everything. I did it on Dylan's engine and I really liked it. It just gives good peace of mind for, you know, if I look back through pictures, I'm like, oh no, I did torque that down. That is tight, blah, 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 whatever. So, you know, those 3 a.m. mornings when you're like, did I do that? I did. So what we're gonna do now is put the pan on, which is ready to go. I had everything like professionally cleaned by my local machine shop guy. So I just reassembled these, Loctited these in place. I've got to bolt mark those down. And then I'm not going to use Honda Bond, so don't hate me, but I've had better luck with the Permatex black, ultra black stuff. So I'm going to put that around here and around here as well. So I'm going to kind of like back butter, like if you're tiling your floor, because it gets better stick. And a lot of people have had issues with these leaking from that face not being flat. So if you do both and you stick it together, wait 5 minutes and then torque it down, you won't have any issues with it leaking. So we're gonna go with that route. All right, before I install it, that's kind of what I did. I laid a little bead around it and then I just worked it around my finger so that it's all the way around. Both sides of the bolt holes is important. Same thing on the bottom of the block. So this way, when you put the pan down, if you've ever tiled anything, I haven't, but I've seen plenty of people tile stuff. If you back butter, so it's called back butter, you do both this side and the tile side, like floor and tile, stick it together, it like sticks to itself really well, and it's already stuck to the other surfaces. So by the time you stick it together, you get a nice tight bond between all three. So I probably shouldn't have done like this area because I don't have the front timing cover on, but I can always scrape that off or like wipe it off when I install it. We're not going to be far behind with that front cover, so it might be all right. So those are all torqued. I got to go around and mark them still. Good rule of thumb, I don't think I wiped it all up, but a good amount of squish out of RTV looks something like that. So it's like a little ribbon that just kind of curls out. You don't want to be like wiping away excess amounts. And then what I do is I just run my finger around it and kind of cover both surfaces on the edge with RTV, so you can see it like right there. It's not the cleanest thing. Like the perfect world would be you wipe it perfectly clean and whatnot, but that kind of gives you another barrier of protection to a leak. So yeah, I have to bolt mark those. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to wipe the RTV off that I accidentally put up here. It's still wet, so it'll be pretty easy. And then we'll work on putting the front cover on and then sealing up the motor. Like I'll set the valve cover on it just so it's covered for now, and then we'll do things like the oil filter relocation and stuff like that. I swear the longest part of all this is cleaning up the old stuff before you put it back together. So I just got the front timing cover cleaned up. It's all pre-RTV sealed, ready to go. This is pre-RTV sealed, same idea, we're gonna back butter it. So yeah, I'm about to go stick that on. I did put this crank plate on here, so this, you have to do this on the Z3s. You take out that spacer and you put this plate on that's I don't know if you can read that, but it says outside and that has to face outside. So that's ready to go. In theory, we should be able to put the timing plate on, and then we'll put the upper cover on and the whole front timing stuff will be done. I had to open the garage door because I pretty much just gassed myself out with brake clean and I was starting to get dizzy, so yeah, don't do that. Front timing cover is on. The tuner's return, turbo oil return is on. Just cap that for now because we won't put that, we'll put the turbo on in the car, so we won't put that line on until it's in the car. Crank pulley's on, impacted in. The I don't know if this is VTEC, but whatever the sensor is in. All of these are tight. The next thing I'm going to do is install the new oil filter location, which is here. And then we'll do the block off plate for the old one, and we'll put the water neck for the turbo in here. And then on this side, I think we might throw the starter on. No, we can't do that yet. That might be almost it. I'm going to set the valve cover on just so I don't drop stuff inside. But yeah, we'll put this stuff on. We'll put the VTEC module on the side here, and then that's going to be about it. So this is where I'm going to call it for the night. Everything externally is pretty much on except for this engine mount because I have to grind this little nub down for it to fit. And it's 12:30 in the morning and I don't really want to run a grinder right now with my neighbors across the street, so we'll be nice. I'll grind that down tomorrow, put that mount on. This is just resting here for now because there's an oil passage in there and I don't want that exposed to like the elements and all that nastiness, so that's gonna stay like that. Pretty much gonna put it in like this without the water pump because it's really easy to put the intake manifold on when the water pump is not there. So we'll slide that off kind of like we pulled it. We'll put it in the same way, and then yeah, once it's in, it's just a matter of hooking the rest of the stuff up, which I have everything. I am going to test fit the transmission first to make sure that it slides on nice, and then I will be installing that in the car because it's I've done it enough that it's easy. So yeah, good progress for the night. It looks a lot more like a Miata K-swap engine than it did this morning, so I'll take that. I'm gonna clean up this absolute disaster. I've never had my garage look this messy before, so I'm gonna clean all this up and then I'm gonna go to bed and I will pick you guys up the next time I'm out here working on it, which is either tomorrow is Sunday or Monday, because Monday we have off. It's Monday morning. We gotta leave for track day in like 5 hours, I think. So I'm gonna try and get this in. It's pretty much ready. I'm gonna take it off the stand next. And then we gotta bolt up the adapter plate, flywheel, clutch, pressure plate, whole combo. And then we're gonna test fit the trans, make sure it slides on nice with good alignment, because if I don't do it now underneath the car, it's kind of a pain. So we'll do that now, and then we'll spin it around to the front, and the engine bay is pretty much ready. So just gotta pull the harness aside, and it should take it pretty well. There's no trans again, so we don't have to like snake it in. It's just going to be more of a set in type thing. I've never done it this way. Honestly, I've never just put an engine in. I've always done it with a transmission, so this is going to be a little strange. It might be a lot easier. These engines are so tall that it makes the trans kind of a pain. So enough of that. I'm on a deadline, so let's get cracking. So if any of you are curious how this works, K-Power, or K-Miata, which is now K-Power, sells this adapter plate that takes the K24 engine side and converts the bolt pattern to the Miata. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Miata bolts. They make them for the BMW trans and all that stuff too. So this is the Miata specific one. The bolt that I always forget is the one that holds this guy in here, and I don't know if I can get that on or not, because that's like, there's no room for a bolt head in there. So we'll see what I'm gonna do. Perfect world, I would have thrown a riv nut in this, but no, I can't put a bolt in through here, so this might have to just sit like this. I might put some RTV along the inside here to like seal this together so it doesn't rattle, but this definitely rattled last year, so we'll do something to clean that up. Test fitted the trans. I don't think I've ever had one slide on easier than that, which is sweet. So we're ready to go. Waiting for my dad to roll in. We're gonna take the hood off. Not even gonna bother trying without it. And then we're gonna snake this guy in, and that'll be a wrap. I've decided to end this episode when the engine is in the car. I feel like it's a good closure point. And then the next episode will be, I'll cut past all like the trans install stuff, but getting it all wired back in, firing it up, and you know, driving it. So there's probably not going to be much vloggy style filming while my dad is here. I don't think he's very keen to be in front of the camera. I will set the camera up and record the process, but I won't be talking to you guys much. So yeah, I will do an outro at the end and go over what we did and what happened, but for the engine install, you guys are just gonna have to be along for the ride. So the engine is in. It's way easier without a transmission, so if I ever have to do this again, that's how it's going to be. It took two of us like 20 minutes probably from the time we had it up in the air to in here. I've got it supported by a block of wood because it's only on 2 points right now. So once I throw the trans in and hook it up to the PPF, we'll be all set to go. But that's for next episode. So thanks guys for watching. You know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.